So for somebody that has healthy levels of this nitric oxide synthase, is eating foods like beets and arugula the best way to boost it, to boost nitric oxide?
If you have the right oral bacteria and you can make stomach acid, and if those vegetables contain enough nitrate to do it, to fuel that pathway. And that was, kind of an epiphany we had in 2015 because we went to 5 cities across the U.S. We measured these vegetables. We brought them back to the lab, and there was as much as a 50-fold difference in the nitrate of celery grown in Dallas as it was to New York or Los Angeles or Raleigh.
Interesting.
So just because you're eating beets doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a nitric oxide benefit from it. Just because you're eating arugula doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a benefit from it, a nitric oxide benefit from it.
Are there tests, like ways to figure out how your nitric oxide system is functioning?
Yeah, the only true way to measure is through functional devices. There's a device, I think probably the only one on the market that uses what's called flow-mediated dilatation. It's called the EndoPad. But how that device works is they put a blood pressure cuff on your upper arm, and they completely occlude blood flow into the brachial artery. So for 5 minutes, there's no blood flow into this part of your arm. So you get tingly, it's a little bit uncomfortable. But then when you release the cuff, the normal response of those downstream blood vessels is to dilate. So they'll produce nitric oxide and they'll dilate because they go, I've been starved of oxygen for 5 minutes, I need oxygen. And so you dilate the blood vessels if the blood vessels can make nitric oxide. So what you look at is you look at the reactive hyperemia when you release that cuff. And if the blood vessels don't dilate when you release the cuff, then they're not making nitric oxide. If you get a normal vascular response and reactivity, then you'll see dilation of the blood vessels, and that tells us you have good endothelial function and your blood cells are making nitric oxide. Your blood vessels are making nitric oxide.
Is that in any way related to blood flow restriction training?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can do, because that's an adaptive response, right? There's a phenomenon called ischemic preconditioning. So ischemia is a fancy word for lack of blood flow. And so when you do blood flow restriction, it's creating intermittent hypoxia. And it's so the body goes, I don't want to run out of oxygen again, so I need to create more blood vessels, create more mitochondria, so now I can utilize less oxygen to maintain some energy production so I can still be normal metabolism. That's the adaptive effects of it. So, but it's an acute injury, right? You're intentionally creating ischemia and hypoxia to that tissue. And then if you're healthy, it can adapt and you get hypertrophy, you can improve muscle mass, you can improve angiogenesis, and it's an adaptive effect.
It's like hypertrophy via a completely different mechanism, at least as far as my understanding goes, when compared to the usual route, which is like creating micro tears in your musculature that the body then
repairs and rebuilds.
Adapts and rebuilds. Yeah. It's like it creates like a metabolic crisis and causes an adaptation.
No, but it happens at the nuclear level in the genetic expression. So when you get that brief periods of hypoxia, we have things called like hypoxia-inducible factor, HIF1. And then we turn on angiogenesis. We turn on, a lot of mitochondrial enzymes and activate PGC1 alpha. So now we're going to increase mitochondrial biogenesis. So now we're going to have more mitochondria utilizing oxygen more efficiently to make energy to get through that next hypoxic episode. It's adaptation at its best.
Are you a fan of hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
Yeah, I have a hyperbaric chamber in my home.
You do?
Yeah.
Damn. Are the benefits? Yeah. What are the benefits of that? I mean, we did an episode on it on the topic recently.
Yeah.
But the guest was also kind of related to a company that prescribes hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So.
No, I think the clinical benefits of it are enormous in terms of post-concussion syndrome, wound healing. The way hyperbaric works, and this was first published, I think, in the early 80s, that it's providing oxygen. You're not really improving blood oxygen saturation. You're using physics, and it's increasing the oxygen, the solubility of oxygen in the plasma, in the water portion of the blood. So you're getting, through high pressure, hyperoxygenation. And in people with chronic wounds or people who are unhealthy, who have post-concussion syndrome, neurological problem, there's focal ischemia, right? So there's reduced blood flow, less oxygen getting to that. So now if we can improve the concentration, increase the concentration of oxygen in the plasma, we're oxygenating those tissues. But really the real mechanism is it's stimulating nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is telling the stem cells to mobilize, And now we got stem cells that are going and repairing and replacing dysfunctional cells, healing wounds, and creating all the clinical benefits.
So nitric oxide is related to the benefits
Hyperbaric.
Wow, very interesting.
But when I have people and put them in a hyperbaric, I give them the lozenge before they get in there, because if they're really ill, their enzyme isn't going to make nitric oxide, even though we're supplying oxygen to it. If we have to recouple that enzyme in order to get the benefits of that.
Is that a way to boost the purported benefits of hyperbaric, to take one of your nitric oxide boosting?
Yeah, I think we can see that anecdotally. I mean, we've never done a controlled clinical trial on it, because we'd have to look at, have a homogeneous group of patients with the same indication, and then follow them to hyperbaric alone, lozenge alone, and then the combination. So it'd be like a 3-arm study, and those are really tough to do.
Yeah, I would imagine. So would you recommend it to me as like a post-surgical healing modality?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Hyperbaric is amazing. I mean, it's really and it's not, I mean, it's an hour long, sometimes depending on what the case, you got to do 10, 12, sometimes 30, 40 sessions. It can become expensive, or you just buy one and have it in your house.
Are those expensive to have it like in your, I would assume so.
I mean, they just like anything, from 10, 12, 15,000 up to 150,000. You can spend as much as you want.
Damn.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.